All right, so we're going to do the fantasy tight ends today, the cheese list, the OnlyFans list, hopefully cut up into two separate videos. I'm not going to do what I did for the quarterbacks where I show you they're all ranked the fucking same regardless of which outlet you use because, as we talked about in the quarterback video, if you follow the crowd, you're going to end up with a nice fourth place finish. And then Trey wins every year and humiliates Matthew Berry. Maybe I should just talk about that every time. Can we put a card up here for when I humiliated Matthew Berry last year? Again, if you follow the rankings, you'll end up with a nice fourth place finish, and then Trey will laugh at you at the end of the year, just like I do every year. I'm not going to show you how, Player X is ranked in the same fucking spot on 4 different publications. You can Google that on your own. I just wanted to show you for the quarterback video because this industry is a joke. And I guess before I move on, I'm going to do a couple honorable mentions today just because some people don't qualify for the cheese list and some people don't qualify for the OnlyFans list. Like a perfect example was Anthony Richardson for me. He's not on the cheese list. I think there's a very good chance that he could end up with a very good fantasy season because he's got the rushing upside. But can we get the guy to play good first before we make him great? Like QB5 is... it's lofty, and you guys made the same mistake last year with Justin Fields, and you notice where Justin Fields is ranked this year. Right now, Richardson is a clone of Cam Newton, and maybe Richardson will have that one good Cam Newton year this year, but until the guy's thrown for 65% and is playing, a full healthy season, then you can talk to me. Okay, so let's do the tight ends today, and I want to start out with this one. Let's start out with this one because I think it perfectly exemplifies everything that you need to know about the tight end position. I wrote this article in 2021, and I tried to get my point across this, okay, so what people don't understand is tight ends, there's no track record for success as a rookie. None. Like Sam Laporta, big time exception to the rule. Big time exception to the rule with what happened with Laporta last year. But if you just go to rookie tight ends taken in the first round, here's the list. None of them were successful. Like literally none of them. The only one who had some success to where you could throw him in a starting lineup and feel good about it was Evan Engram. Other than that, that's it. So I tried to get across that, look, for 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 years, Kyle Pitts isn't going to do anything. So stop fucking putting unrealistic expectations. You're the problem, not Pitts. Pitts is not the problem. You're the problem for not understanding how this works. Okay? This is the list. I'm showing it to you right here. Show me the good rookie season of a tight end who was picked in the first round. It doesn't fucking exist. So stop putting these unrealistic expectations that are never going to happen. Okay? That's the biggest problem with you people. So then when I go and let's start with this because Brock Bowers is not on the cheese list, but we'll do an honorable mention. We'll start with the cheese list. Brock Bowers, regardless of where you want to find him. So Fantasy Pros, he's 11. I'm not going to share my screen. Yahoo, he is 12. ESPN, he is, hold on. ESPN, he is 11, or he is 12. It's a joke. And, shit. Matthew Berry, he's 12. So he's 11, 12, 12, and 12 on the 4 lists, which is no fucking surprise, right? Is just no fucking surprise. Okay. Well, all right. So let's continue here. I love Brock Bowers, and maybe he even finishes as tight end 12 because it's really not that hard to finish as a top 12 tight end. If you get 4 touchdowns and 500 yards, that might be tight end 12. But just be careful. Just be careful. He's playing for the Raiders, and he's got Minshew throwing the ball, and they got Michael Mayer, and they still got Devontae Adams. Let's just be patient. And now he's dealing with a foot injury, so he might miss some time during the regular season. Let's be patient on Brock Bowers. Let the dummies in your league go rush to draft Brock Bowers, and then when they get pissed off because he didn't perform up to their expectations that are unrealistic based on history, then you, the smart person, jumps in and takes Brock Bowers when he finally pops next year or the year after. So just keep that in mind for how to proceed fantasy-wise. And it's a perfect example that I'll continue to stress over and over and over and over again with these tight ends. Next up on the list, honorable mention. He's not on the cheese list because he's not ranked overly high. Like, okay, we'll go through the exercise again. Fantasy Pros, he's tight end 9. Yahoo, he's tight end 10. ESPN, he's tight end 8. And Matthew Berry, he's tight end 10. So he's either 8, 9, or 10 on all the lists. Weird how that works. Anyway, so last year, David Njoku, best year ever. He had his best year ever. And this is an honorable mention. I'm not saying, cross him off the list. I'm not getting that extreme. The cheese list is about crossing names off the list. I'm not saying totally cross him off the list, but tread carefully, because if you really go back to Njoku's game log, you'll notice that his biggest games of the year conveniently line up when Joe Flacco got this job. So if you, again, let's go to Flacco first and then we'll come back. So if we go to Flacco's game logs from last year, and again, Flacco's not on the roster. Flacco's now with the Colts. So if we go back to his game logs, he took over week 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So if we go back to Njoku, let's keep those in mind, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So if you go back to Njoku, if we go to 13, 14, 15, 16, and he did not play here. So 13, 14, 15, 16. Those are the 4 weeks that he had Flacco. Okay? Look at his fucking numbers. 91 and 2 touchdowns. 101 touchdown. 44 and 1 touchdown. Then 134 and no touchdowns. He did all this fucking damage with Flacco. When Watson was the quarterback, he wasn't doing shit. So, again, I'm not saying he won't do shit without Flacco, but just be careful. Just really be careful when you're talking about Njoku this year. He's not on the cheese list, but he's a borderline cheese list, so we'll keep going here. Next guy on the list here is Cole Kmet. I'm tired of pretending that Cole Kmet is a good football player. He's not a good football player. Let's please stop pretending he's a good football player. Last year was his best year ever. 719 yards, 6 touchdowns. His best year ever. His best year ever. His best year ever. He actually finished as the tight end 8, which, again, as we've been over multiple times, you can suck and still be the tight end 8 to 12. It happens every single year in fantasy. The only people that made a difference in fantasy last year were, Laporta. Kittle had a good year, but it came in inconsistent stretches. And then Kelsey wasn't Kelsey anymore. And then you got a couple good weeks out of Njoku during the Flacco run. And Hockenson was good when he was on the field. Plus, Ingram caught a lot of balls. Everybody else beyond that tight end 6 range was totally worthless in fantasy and didn't really help you. That's the truth. Trey McBride started to come on a little bit, but after you got past tight end 6, everybody else is a waste of time. That's really the truth of the matter when it comes to the tight end position. Happens every single year. So let's go to Kmet. I just don't know how this excites you. And you're not getting anything better than he did last year, because this is now a spread team. The Bears are going 3 wide receiver sets, and they brought in a lot of weapons. So last year, they kind of just had DJ Moore, and DJ Moore got funneled all the fucking looks, and then, Kmet was involved. This year, now you got another target monster with Keenan Allen, and now you got first-round pick Roma Odunze. I don't see it. Again, I just don't see it, and furthermore, I just don't think he's that good of a football player. I know we're going to keep continuing to pretend that Cole Kmet is something, but he's not. So just please stop pretending otherwise. 108 fantasy points, and he had his best year ever. That doesn't excite me in any way, shape, or form. Please stop taking him. So if we go to see where he's ranked this year, he's actually reasonably ranked in some of these. Okay, so in Fantasy Pros, he's tight end 19. Fine with that. Yahoo, he's tight end 16. Okay. Tight end 16 on ESPN, and then tight end 16 Matthew Berry. So there are 3 of the 4 in the same fucking spot, of course. I don't have an issue if he's like tight end 16, 17, 18, 19 for you, but I just don't see him repeating tight end 8 again. I just don't, especially after you add Keenan Allen and you add Odunze, and now you're a spread team. And if the Bears actually improve, they should be running the ball more than they did, because last year they were fucking terrible and playing from behind a lot. So Cole Kmet, maybe we'll make him an honorable mention because he's actually ranked a lot lower than I thought he was. So next. All right, so let's get to person number 2 here, and that is TJ Hockenson. And Hockenson's mostly on the list because injury, obviously. So last year in 15 games, 960 yards, 5 touchdowns. That's not bad, you know? Like, again, let's just go to this list last year. Here we go. So fantasy finishes last year. Like, once you get to Taysom Hill, let's cut it the fuck out, you know? And there's a 6-point gap here. But, like, these top 6 helped you in fantasy last year. And not all of them were consistent, but these top 6 were worth your time. Everything else was not. Hockenson was capable in fantasy last year. Like, totally. That's not my argument here. That is not my argument I'm trying to make with TJ Hockenson. But the argument I'm trying to make with TJ Hockenson is, when the fuck is he going to be on the field? Back earlier than expected? Okay, so mid-October. He's still missing. Again, yeah, if he misses 6 weeks, are you still willing to take him? I mean, maybe depending on where he's ranked, right? At that point, it's all cost dependent. But that's my point here with Hockenson. Like, he's going to miss a ton of time. Like, we're not just talking about a guy who's going to miss some time. He's going to miss a ton of time. Okay, so it looks like he's actually kind of properly ranked here on some of these. I would just, again, the tight end position is so fucking weird. I would just say proceed with caution and just know what you're signing up for. Like, they're saying, oh, maybe he'll be back sooner than expected, which means week 6. You know, that's still 6 weeks of the fucking year. And we're talking about a position where, like, do you even want to waste a roster spot on a tight end that's not doing anything for the first half of the year? Like, that's the real question that you need to be asking yourself here with Hockenson. It's one thing to, like, I'm going to do with, all right, look, Nick Chubb, he'll miss 4 or 5 weeks of the year. Then I'm getting the number 1 running back in Cleveland. Do you really want to hold on to Hockenson and then know that you have to take another tight end? I don't know if I want to use 2 rosters. And again, it all depends on your league rules. But do you want to use 2 roster spots on a tight end and then maybe even 3 roster spots because the tight end that you drafted, his bye week's coming up. I can't drop Hockenson because he's coming back and I already drafted him. And then I have to spend a 3rd tight end because the bye week for my first tight end, Hockenson isn't ready to go. And now I have to spend another tight end. Like, you're really going down a dangerous rabbit hole. How many roster spots you willing to give up, knowing that a tight end that you're going to take isn't going to help you for multiple weeks? Tough. Again, maybe this position is so fucking weird to talk about, and maybe you're willing to gamble because there's just not a lot of good tight ends. I get that, but man. Okay, let's say he comes back late October. He comes back week 7, 8. You know, like, you got to spend the roster spot. What happens if the tight end that you're going to draft to cover for him has a bye week where he's not ready to go? Like, it's all cost dependent for me on Hockenson. Like, if you can get him for free, I understand it. But in my league, I think he went for like $16 or something like that. That's a lot of money to be spending for a tight end when you know you got to pick another one. And then maybe you got to pick 2 more. So, yeah, I mean, it all depends on me on the cost. We'll go through the rankings here really quickly. Fantasy Pros tight end 15, which I think is fair. Yahoo tight end 17. That's, again, fair. ESPN tight end 13. See, that's a little rich for me. Like, if we're gonna go tight end 13, there's just other guys that I would rather pick in that same range, to where I don't feel like it's worth hanging on to the guy. And then Barry has him tight end 15. So I think tight end 17 is fair, just because of how many weeks he's gonna miss. Like, and it all comes back to roster management, for me at least. How many tight ends are you willing to hold? How many players are you even allowed to carry? Are you willing to carry a tight end that's not going to do anything for at least 6 weeks and maybe more? It's a big ask. Okay, next. Let's go to next. And actually, there was a trade that actually further makes my case here. Dallas Goedert. This is a weird one, because I guess people evolve and change over time. When Dallas Goedert first came into the league, he was not a blocking tight end, and now he's a blocking tight end. If you go to his numbers, big step back from the previous 2 years. I mean, even when he missed more time, he still had better numbers. Big step back from the previous year. This offense, it funnels through A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and now the Eagles just traded for Jahan Dotson. So that's another target. Like, you don't just give up a third-round pick for Jahan Dotson just because. You know, like, I'm sure they have a fucking plan for him. So if you really watch Philadelphia's offense, and I'm not saying he'll get 0 fucking catches, right? I mean, if he gets 592 yards and 3 touchdowns again, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. But if we go to fantasy finishes last year, that was good enough for tight end 15, which in a 12-team league, that means he's literally not startable. Something you got to think about. When it comes to Goddard. What is Goddard? I think the Eagles are going to change their offense this year, which maybe helps them. We don't know. We haven't seen this Kellen Moore Eagles offense yet. But if we circle it back, they spent a lot of money on Saquon Barkley. They want Jalen Hurts to be a better version of themselves. I think this is going to be a run-first team, and when they do throw the ball, well, maybe run first is a bit of a stretch because it is still Kellen Moore. But I think they're going to run the ball a fair amount. And when they do throw the ball, it's going to Brown, it's going to Dot, and then going to get some looks for Dotson now, and it's going to go to Devontae Smith. He's starting to get older now. He's missed time in the past. Why are you popping up, Siri? I did not ask for you to pop up. He's missed time in the past. Missed some games here in recent seasons, so I'm out on Goddard. If he's a bye week filler for you, that's fine. But I am not spending heavy resources here on Dallas Goedert. So next up on the list is Mark Andrews. And now we get a little bit spicy, right? Now we get a little bit spicy to close things out. This is my boldest take. I think the writing here is not on the wall, because he's still a good player, right? He made the Pro Bowl 2 years ago. He made the Pro Bowl the year before that. I just think we're going to finally start getting this guy a little bit back down to earth. Like this 1,300-yard season, you're never going to see it again. Like that, this is done. The same thing with the Lamar Jackson season, where he was that weird outlier Lamar Jackson season that I talked about with the quarterbacks. This one right here, this guy's never coming back, and he's probably going to be a lot closer to these numbers the rest of his career, and I'm going to tell you why. First and foremost, I think Isaiah Likely is getting better, and what Likely is, he is the receiving tight end. Like he is the receiving tight end. So if you look at Likely as a rookie, he did this, and as a second-year player, his numbers went up a little bit. And you would think now he's going to be even more. I think he's going to be. Again, I'm a hibernating Ravens fan. I do follow the team. I think his catch rate went up. I think Likely is going to keep going like this. I think Likely is going to be more and more involved. And something that I can't stand as a fantasy owner is when I have a tight end and I'm getting sniped by another fucking tight end on the same team. Nothing drives me more insane. Like, this was the biggest problem I had when there was that couple year stretch where Aaron Hernandez was kicking ass, and that was a rare exception because both him and Gronk were killing it. But man, it would drive me fucking insane when another tight end on the same damn team, and there was a couple times this happened with Dennis Pitta. Dennis Pitta was getting sniped on his own damn team. I think likely he's going to snipe Andrews on his own same damn team. And then we go to what's going on with Mark Andrews right now. He just got in a major car crash. Yeah, I'm sure he's fine. Like, I'm sure, look, all the reports indicate this was not life-threatening. Like, this was not a situation where he almost died. But he's not practicing right now, and it was a serious car wreck. And again, last year, fractured fibula, ligament damage in his ankle. This is what he's coming off of. So he had major injuries at the end of last year. And then heading into the season, he's involved in a major car wreck. And as somebody who drafted Trey Sanders in a rookie draft, I've been burned on major car wrecks before. And it hasn't been a fun experience for me. So I just think people should manage their expectations when it comes to Andrews. So if we go to do the fantasy rankings, Fantasy Pros has him as tight end 3. Yahoo has him as tight end 4. ESPN has him as tight end 3. And Matthew Berry has him as tight end 4. I would probably put him at like tight end 8 or 9. I just think there's a lot of risk here when it comes to Andrews. And Zay Flowers is now getting into year 2. He should be the primary target. Like when Andrews had that big year, he was the motherfucker in the offense. Now it's Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is the dude in the offense. I'm not the biggest fan of this guy, but I think Bateman should finally, which is why I would have took Bateman in the 4th round. Bateman should finally be like a real player. I'm not saying Bateman will ever live up to his draft status because I'm on record for saying that was a total fucking idiotic draft move. You can go Google that yourself, and I was right. But Bateman should actually finally like just be a player, like a serviceable secondary 3rd option. Okay, and then now we have likely sniping him, and the guy's not healthy. And let's also factor in, and this is probably the most minor of the points I'm about to make, but Mark Andrews is a diabetic. This is something that he has to battle for the rest of his life. Is that something that's going to get better as he suffers major injuries with, fractured fibula, ankle ligament damage, car wreck? He's already a diabetic. Like, we're adding things. Now he's getting older. He's about to hit 30. Are we sure we want to go down this road where we're spending major resources on Mark Andrews? I'm not.